Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a high interest in re-signing star wide receiver Chris Godwin. And I am not alone in this video today. Joining me yet again from the Cannon Fire podcast, it is Rhett and Evan. Guys, how are you doing today? Rhett, we'll start with you, then we will toss it over to Evan.
I am good, man. I am excited for the motions of the offseason, finding out who's going to stay, who's going to go. We've said before, I know the retirement of Tom Brady is, not entirely official right now, but it's still going to be interesting to see what changes are made to this Bucs team over the next couple of months here. So, a guy like Chris Godwin, he's a big deal, and he's got to be close to number one on their priority list. So I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, with the uncertainty at quarterback, right? We don't know if quarterback is gonna be a need or not. Like we really don't. So yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin's always been a top priority, and it's no surprise that they have high interest in re-signing him. It's obviously going to cost a lot of money, but I think obviously the Bucs know that. Like the Bucs are completely aware of that. So he's a player that they love, and not a surprise to me that they have such a high interest in re-signing him. We'll see if they can get it. Doesn't mean they're going to, but we will see if they can get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like both you guys said, I know, we all know, right? Even people watching this video, that the future of Tom Brady hangs in the balance. There is so much stinking debate going on right now between all the reports that have been coming out, and I don't even want to get into all of that in this video today. The point of this video today is to say that, yeah, there's other stuff going on with this team that needs to be talked about. Re-signing, or I guess I should say potentially re-signing star wide receiver Chris Godwin is one of those things that needs to be talked about. So, hey, let's put all that Tom Brady talk, on the shelf real quick so we can shift focus and talk about this now. And, as I said at the top of this video, guys, it came out, reports, Pewter Report was talking about this. I believe some people from ESPN were talking about this, correct? That the Buccaneers have a high interest in re-signing Chris Godwin. That makes a lot of sense to me, of course. That's been a thing that's been talked about throughout the entirety of this past regular season, throughout the entirety of last offseason. Chris Godwin was placed on the franchise tag last year. He played throughout the entirety of this regular season, and now it's going to be a topic that is going to be coming up again. Evan, I want your thoughts on this situation first about, the Buccaneers potentially re-signing Chris Godwin, the interest being there, and then, Rhett, I want your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it back to the quarterback position, I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. I would expect, while I said that doesn't mean that they're going to re-sign Chris Godwin, I would fully expect them to re-sign Chris Godwin. It just seems like that's not the type of player they want to let leave, and I don't think it matters whether Tom Brady's here or not. So I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. I expect Chris Godwin to be a part of this team for the foreseeable future. I've always thought that, and now we're finally starting to see, as the offseason is starting to begin, we're starting to see that they do have a high interest. Obviously, there'll be a lot of teams on the open market that'll have a lot of interest from Godwin, even with the injury, even with the major injury. There's still going to be a ton of interest, but I just can't see the Bucs letting this guy go, regardless of whether Tom Brady or someone else is under center for this team in 2022.
Yeah, most NFL offenses nowadays, you need three wide receivers to succeed, right? I mean, you generally think of the better wide receiver cores in the NFL, the Rams, on their way to the Super Bowl right now. Most good NFL offenses have a great wide receiver room, and the Bucs have had that for a while, but unfortunately with Chris Godwin missing the tail end of the season, their depth kind of got exposed. Obviously, Chris Godwin is a guy they're going to have high interest in keeping around, but regardless of who's playing quarterback, just like Evan said, not only does it help to have Chris Godwin out there as some support with Mike Evans, who is more than capable of getting the job done, but Chris Godwin is a number one wide receiver on 31 out of 32 teams in the NFL. And the only reason it's not the Bucs is because they have Mike Evans. So, yeah, that is a very, very attractive wide receiver to a lot of teams. He can get the job done. And I've actually heard the comparison tossed around that he is the Levante David of that offense. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. The guy can take a lot of abuse. He did get injured in that game against the Saints, but he has made some incredible catches, and he has taken some pretty big hits over the years that I'm surprised haven't led to bigger injuries. But yeah, that's definitely not a guy you want to let walk and go do it for another team because he's the type of receiver that'll come back into Tampa and put up 200 yards on you in an afternoon. He is a very, very special guy, and the Bucs definitely want to hang on to him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what both of you guys said. There's two interesting questions I have for both of you. And Brett, I want to start off with you and then toss it to Evan. You know, Evan, you talked about that injury, right? Chris Godwin tore his ACL versus the New Orleans Saints back in, what week was it? Week 13, week 14? 15. Right. So he is, you know, still very early on in the process of recovering from that torn ACL. How much is that going to factor into potential leverage, contract negotiations, all these other different types of things? And then also, what would an expected price be for a guy like Chris Godwin here in some type of deal? Rhett, we'll start with you and then toss it to Evan.
I think the ACL is obviously going to affect some things depending on what, you know, he's expecting for the market. You see guys like Davante Adams out here asking for $30 million a year. And I mean, a lot of people will agree he's probably the best, if not a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Chris Godwin isn't necessarily in a lot of people's top 3 list, but I do think he can be at that level, you know, especially if he's a featured number 1. But as far as what his price range would be, I mean, it's got to be over 20 million. I don't know if it's going to be around 30 million. I just, no, it won't be. But I mean, honestly, Evan's probably going to be more suited to talk about the money side of things. I can tell you this much. He's going to get paid. And I think whoever pays him, he'll probably take a little less money to stay with the Bucs if that's the route he wants to go to. But I think it'll be one of the bigger contracts throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the ACL injury, it's a major injury. There's no doubt that it's a major injury, but I don't think it's something that is going to impact much. This is a player who hasn't dealt with this type of major injury much. It's been a lot of nagging things. He's still, you know, he's 25 years old right now. So it's not like he's an older player. He's still young. He has really a lot of his career in front of him. SpotRack has an annual value like calculator, and they have an annual value at $18.1 million a year. Their market value projection is 5 years for 90 million, just under 91 million actually, total. So I would expect it to be around there, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 18.5 million a year. I don't think he's going to get over 20, especially like, that's something I do think the ACL injury could prevent him getting something like over 20, because it is such a major injury. So I don't think he's going to get Davante Adams money. I don't think Adams is going to get 30 million a year, but I don't think he's going to get top 5 wide receiver money. But just like Rhett said, he's going to get paid. There's no doubt about it. He's not going to come cheap. But like I said earlier, I think the Bucs are, you know, they understand that. They know this player isn't going to come cheap, and I think they're prepared to do really whatever it takes within reason, you know, to keep him in Tampa.
Yeah, you know, like you guys said, of course he's going to cost a pretty penny. Of course he's going to cost a good amount of money, right? Chris Godwin's been, you know, one of the best wide receivers in the league now for the past couple of seasons. You pair him up with Mike Evans, forget about it. You know, again, much like what you guys said, or at the start of this video, you know, whoever's at quarterback, it could be Tom Brady, it could be, you know, really a lot of guys around the league. They could find some amount of success whenever you've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at your disposal. I mean, that's just the way it is. So it obviously makes sense, you know, for Jason Light to want to get a deal done. Arguably one of the better draft picks that Jason Light has made as a GM. Would you guys say it's up there with possibly the best? I mean, you look at guys like Devin White, Vita Vea, all these guys. Evan, what do you think? You think it'd be possibly his best pick he's ever made?
Well, you bring up Devin White and Vita Vea. Both those guys are first-round picks. Chris Godwin, a lot of people don't remember, he was a third-round pick. Mm-hmm. They picked O.J. Howard and Justin Evans in rounds 1 and 2 that year. So, yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin's definitely up there. I still personally think that Jason Light's best pick was probably Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. I mean, just what Mike Evans is, you know, I understand Mike Evans is a first-round pick, but you're talking about best value? Best value might be Chris Godwin in the third round for sure.
For sure. And Rhett, what are your thoughts on that situation?
No, yeah, I probably am going to agree with Evan there. Just in the long term, as far as productivity with the team, Mike Evans has restructured his contract more times than I can count on one hand to help out the salary cap with the team. And he's a guy that I think is going to be in a Bucs uniform for the rest of his career. Chris Godwin definitely has, the potential to be I think a top 3 Jason Light pick for sure. But I guess we just have to see how this contract shakes out, right? If the Bucs can lock him up on a team-friendly deal and he proves to be a great Buck for a long time, then for sure he is in the conversation.
For sure. I agree with both you guys there. I do agree with Evan. For my money, it probably is Mike Evans, the best Jason Light draft pick that he's ever made. But Chris Godwin, in terms of round value, I mean, that's hard to dispute, in terms of overall value that you've gotten in certain rounds. I mean, Godwin's obviously towards the top of that list for Jason Light. And it sounds like you guys do both have a similar opinion here, but I do want to ask it. I may make a separate video talking about this. I may not. We'll see. But, Rhett, we'll start with you. At the end of the day, obviously the high interest levels are there. Money comes into factor. Interest from other teams will come into a factor. But at the end of the day, do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will end up re-signing Chris Godwin?
I do. I think it's the most sure signing they have in front of them, to be honest with you. A lot of the other guys, some of the guys that you'd love to see return, but just might not be as high of a priority for them, like Jordan Whitehead, Aaron Stinney, like some of the guys around the edge. That's going to be a different conversation here in a couple of weeks. But I think Chris Godwin, for sure, is going to remain a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. The fact that they have as high of interest as they have, they've been pretty transparent about how much they're going to pursue him. I think they have a lot of interest in re-signing him, a lot of incentives in keeping him here in the long term. And I think they're going to get a deal done. I think Chris Godwin wants to stay and play in Tampa, because that's another thing about Jason Light and his draft picks, man. The guys that he has developed, and especially the guys who were on that Super Bowl team, they enjoy playing for Jason Light. They enjoy playing in Tampa. And as long as Bruce Arians is coaching, I'm sure they enjoy playing for Bruce Arians as well. So I have to imagine he'll be here. I think it's probably one of the first signings we'll see.
Evan, and your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if Chris Godwin ended up anywhere else. I'd be pretty surprised. Something else would have to be up their sleeve if they were to let Chris Godwin walk, which I don't know what that would be. But yeah, I would be pretty surprised. Like Rhett said, this is a player they've drafted and developed. And when you're trying to keep a culture, these are the types of players you pay. Jeremy Fowler was the one, of ESPN who made that Levante David, basically the offense comparison. You don't let the Levante David of your offense go, right? You just don't do that. So I would be surprised. I would be very surprised if they let Chris Godwin go. Like I said, it's going to cost him a lot of money, but I think they're prepared to write him a check for all he's done for this team for, 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, at the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, there might be some more pressing matters on the Buccaneers' hands right now. Thankfully, we didn't have to get into that too much in this video. We could kind of take a step back, talk about some other stuff that's going to be going on with the Bucs, right?
They'll do it for us in the comments.
Yes, I'm sure they will, which is fine. Hey, everybody's allowed to express their opinions on whatever they want to talk about. That's fine. But, again, let us know your thoughts about this down in the comments section below, guys. What do you think about the Buccaneers having a high interest in re-signing Chris Godwin? There may be some people who say it doesn't matter who they re-sign if a certain guy doesn't come back at quarterback. But you know what? It's fine. Everything's going to be okay, people, okay? And this is how things start to be okay, is a move like this where they may potentially bring back Chris Godwin here with them having high levels of interest. So again, give us your thoughts about this down in the comment section below. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will or will not re-sign Chris Godwin? And would you want that to happen? Give us your thoughts about that. Rhett, Evan, thank you guys for being on this video again. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. For everybody watching at home, you can go check out Rhett and Evan's YouTube channel, the Cannon Fire Podcast. It will be in the pinned comment down in the comment section below. Go subscribe to them. They just got over 3,000 subscribers, and now we're trying to get them to 4,000. So let's get it done, people. Let's get these boys to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed. And we will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. And go Bucs.